Today I'm going to be making easier and healthier appetizer recipes. These are going to be great if you're going to have a group of people over to watch a game or to hang out, or if you just want to make something for yourself to eat throughout the week. If you're new here, I'm Amy. I'm a wife and a mom to a 2.5-year-old and a 10-month-old, and I love to share what I'm cooking for my family. That's easier and healthier recipes, meal planning, WW content, and meal prepping. If any of that interests you, I'd love to have you subscribe. Today's video is in collaboration with Tiffany at Small Town 6. I will link her channel below, as well as others. There's a playlist below where you can check out their videos. And I'm really excited to share these. These are great if you want to prep food ahead, or if you just want something easy that will feed a large group of people. Let's go ahead and get cooking. I'm going to be making a hot honey barbecue chicken. I thought this recipe would be perfect for the Super Bowl because it makes a lot of food and it's really versatile. So it's going to include chicken breast and then 2 barbecue sauces, just because I have this one, but it's not quite enough. So this is the unsweetened Primal Kitchen barbecue sauce that I got on a really good sale. And then I'm also going to be using some of this Stubbs barbecue sauce. And that's all in here with some tamari. You can also use Worcestershire if you want to use that. And then this hot honey and some brown sugar, just because this is unsweetened barbecue sauce. The first thing I'm going to do is add in the chicken breast. I'm using close to 1.5 pounds, just because that's what the store gave me, but you could probably use 2 pounds or more. So I'm going to go ahead and just add this sauce on. I'm not going to add in the honey at this time, just because we have a 10-month-old and she can't have honey, but you would also go ahead and add in the honey now as well. So this is barbecue sauce, tamari, there is some apple cider vinegar, and then I'm going to add some brown sugar, just because I'm using this unsweetened barbecue sauce, like I said, just to keep the points lower, because I am on WW. You wouldn't add sugar if you're using regular barbecue sauce. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mix in that brown sugar a little bit, and that's it. Really simple, really easy. I'm going to go ahead and cook it on low for about 6 hours. Okay, it's been 6 hours, so I'm going to take the lid off, and it smells really good. I'm just going to go ahead and shred apart the chicken. Another nice thing about this, for if you're going to have it for the Super Bowl, is you could just set it to keep warm, and you make it way earlier in the day, and then it'll still be warm for you whenever you're ready to eat. But this is just like, you could probably see it's just falling apart. So I'm going to go ahead and shred it, and I'm just going to put it on keep warm until it gets closer to dinner time. And I'm going to serve it tonight on kind of like a toasted bun with a little bit of cheese. But I think this would be really good on nachos, and add some like shredded cheddar maybe with some green onion. You could serve it however you would like. But I like to shred my chicken and just kind of leave it in the crock pot for like another half hour or so, just so that it kind of gets those juices back in there and it's really tender and juicy. I've got my meat right here ready to go. I was gonna spread the butter around all nicely, but I didn't melt it first, and I realized that it's getting to be pretty late here, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. These 3 are gonna stay plain for my little ones, and I'm gonna go ahead and put the chicken and the cheese on the rest. These are ready to go. I feel like these also would be really good on those Hawaiian rolls, and if you don't want them quite as healthy, you could just put like kind of butter all over the top and just slather them in butter and then bake them with like the tops on. Have you ever done sandwiches like that? They're really good. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and cook these just for a few minutes until the cheese melts. How good do these look? I just took them out of the oven. I can't wait to try them. I just realized I forgot to add the hot honey. So like I said, if you're making this recipe for someone who's not younger than a year old, you would just put the hot honey directly in the crock pot. Next, I'm going to be making a BLT bite, kind of. So this will be a perfect kind of appetizer, a little bit lighter than those chicken sandwiches, but these are going to be really tasty. So I'm going to be using these baguettes, cherry tomatoes. I think I will have them, and then some lettuce. You can use any kind you'd like. You can use Mayo, Miracle Whip, anything like that. And then I'm gonna make bacon with cayenne and monk fruit sweetener. I love like a sweet and spicy bacon. I'm using monk fruit sweetener since it's 0 points instead of like brown sugar or maple syrup. I've got a parchment lined baking sheet and I'm just gonna go ahead and bake this bacon. I really like to cook my bacon in the microwave, but since I'm cooking a whole pound at once and I want to add those seasonings, I'm just going to bake it. So I already have my oven on at 400. It is preheating. I've got my monk fruit sweetener and my cayenne, and I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle it on top of the bacon. You could just do plain bacon too. I thought this would just be a really good combination. You can add as much cayenne as you'd like. My idea is for the sugar to kind of caramelize it and give it a really sweet, delicious flavor, and for the cayenne to just add a hint of heat, just to add more depth to these BLTs with like very little extra time in actually preparing this. So I'm gonna go ahead and bake this. I'll start it at 400 for about 15 minutes and I will see how long it takes. While the bacon is cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and slice up the bread and kind of cut the tomatoes as well. This is like take and bake bread, so I am gonna go ahead and cut it and then I'm gonna just toast it, but you can buy like whatever kind of bread you would like. I rinsed these tomatoes. I'm gonna go ahead and cut these in half. And I'm also going to prep my lettuce just because if you look, these pieces are obviously way bigger than the bread. So it just depends on the size of your lettuce, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut it down just so it fits better on this little piece of bread. This bacon looks so good. You can cook it to your preference. We like ours a bit crispier here, so it took about 25 minutes in the oven. I'm gonna go ahead and take it out, put it on a paper towel lined plate just to kind of catch any of that grease. My bacon has cooled, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it in quarters. I just want it to fit nicely on this piece of bread, and I'm using kitchen scissors, but use whatever you'd like, and of course the size of your bacon depends on the size of your bread. These are toasted. I left them on the same parchment paper that I baked them on, and I'm just gonna go ahead and assemble. So I'm gonna do mayo first, then the lettuce, then tomato, then bacon. I'm gonna crack a little pepper on top. I left the tomatoes kind of seed side up like this just because I don't want anything to get soggy, and since this is kind of the wetter part, I feel like this will be a better way to do it. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and place the bacon on top. Here they are. You got that toasted bread, kind of the tang of the mayo or the Miracle Whip, the lettuce, the tomato, and the bacon with that sweet and salty and a little bit spicy flavor. If you are transporting it, you could just use a toothpick and it'll keep everything together really nicely. I love fondue. I feel like it's a really great food to have with a group of people. You can serve it with whatever you'd like. I'm going to be making a healthier fondue recipe. So it uses cauliflower rice. The original recipe is for fresh cauliflower rice. I'm just using the frozen and I'm gonna add less water, so hopefully that works out well. And I'm using milk instead of white wine. There's cornstarch, nutmeg. This is fat-free evaporated milk, and then some Gruyere. So this is gonna be a really great, easy fondue recipe that's a little bit healthier. I also have this from Trader Joe's, so you can also buy this sort of fondue that doesn't require like a fondue pot, or you can make your own homemade fondue without the cauliflower rice. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna start by putting the rice cauliflower in this pan. If you use fresh cauliflower rice, you would add a ½ cup of water. Since mine's frozen, so it should be a little bit more liquidy, I'm just gonna add a little bit, just like a couple of tablespoons. And I'm just gonna cook this probably for like 7 or 8 minutes, just until the rice cauliflower becomes very soft. While the cauliflower rice is cooking, I'm just gonna go ahead and shred up my cheese. You can use whatever you'd like to dip in the fondue. This is just what I've chosen to do. I'm gonna do another loaf of that take and bake bread, some zucchini that I'm gonna slice up, some broccoli, and I'm gonna go ahead and roast both of these just because I don't wanna eat them raw. And then I'm gonna slice up some apples. My cauliflower rice is done cooking, so I'm gonna go ahead and add it to this blender. I'm gonna add in the cornstarch and the evaporated milk. And I'm gonna blend this until it's completely smooth. I've rinsed out the pan and I'm gonna pour back in that mixture that I just blended up. I have the heat on medium-low and I'm gonna go ahead and add in that milk. You would add in the white wine if you're using wine. I'm gonna bring it up to a simmer and I'm gonna stir it pretty constantly so that it doesn't burn. I did look this up because we're actually eating this later today with my sister and brother-in-law and my parents, and you can reheat it. You can reheat it in the microwave, in a double broiler, back on the stovetop. So I'm gonna reheat it later. So if that information is helpful for you, you can make it ahead of time and reheat it. I'm gonna keep stirring that pretty consistently, but I'm also gonna go ahead and prep the rest of the veggies. So I'm gonna chop up the broccoli and the zucchini, that way I can just get them started in the oven. And I'm just gonna season them very simply with salt, pepper, and garlic. And then I will slice up the apples as well once I have the veggies in the oven. I'm gonna roast this at 400. I'll start it at 20 minutes and I will see how long it takes. We are back over to the saucepan now. You can see this is starting to simmer, so I'm gonna go ahead and slowly add in the cheese and stir it and just keep adding more cheese until it's all gone. The fondue itself is 3 points per quarter cup, so I feel like that's pretty good. I'm gonna turn off the heat. I'm gonna add the nutmeg in, and I'm also gonna add a little bit of garlic. I've sliced up the apples, and if you're making this ahead of time like I am, I've shown this before, but a really good way to kind of preserve the apples so they don't brown is just by putting them in some cold water and adding some salt and letting them sit for about 10 minutes. This works really, really well. I've done this a handful of times, and every time they're crispy, they're not brown. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I'll rinse them off. It is really, really good. The flavor is amazing. It's like really cheesy. It's a really sharp, cheesy flavor. And I think it's really, really tasty, especially for only 3 points per quarter cup. I will say, I don't know if you can tell, but the texture is a bit grainy. It's not completely smooth, and that could be my fault. Maybe I didn't blend it enough. But normally fondue is a bit smoother, but it kind of reminds me more of like a really thin mashed potato texture. But I mean, this is really, really good. And for only 3 points, you can't beat that. Here are the veggies out of the oven. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd love to have you stick around. I do post twice a week. I will see you next time.